Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The resolution as amended is ordered reported favorably to the House.
I didn't agree to this. Well, I did. Nadler, there you go, 23-17. That's it. It's over. That's not really. It's like we're in the midst of what seems to be a very long situation. Right? Seems to be a long situation. So now that they've voted on it, because last night they were supposed to vote on it. Right? They're like, yeah, we should totally vote on this, right? Because we've been here for 18,000 hours. Let's vote on this damn thing. And that's when Nadler does Nadler things.
The vote this committee just took was not a vote on final passage of the article. It was a procedural vote which precedes final passage of each of the articles. It has been a long 2 days of consideration of these articles, and it is now very late at night. I want the members on both sides of the aisle to think about what has happened over these last 2 days and to search their consciences before we cast our final votes. Therefore, the committee will now stand in recess until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., at which point...
Whoa! What do you... Wait, what am I... No, I don't want to be here.
That was the most Bush League play I have seen in my life, because they want to simply get it back on the cameras because it's after 11 o'clock tonight, and they don't think enough people is watching.
And he's right, and I'll tell you why, right? This will be a sports thing. East Coast gets all the love in sports. West Coast gets very little. Huh? Why? Because it's 11 o'clock. People are going to bed. People aren't paying attention. They want to make sure everybody out there sees it. The West Coast might be kind of awake, but outside of that, they care about their area. So we've moved on. 23-17. Sometime next week, I've been told Wednesday looks like they'll get it did. And then Thursday, you were supposed to have a Democratic debate Thursday. And I say supposed to have a Democratic debate because there's picket lines. And guess what? They've already moved it. So they moved it first from UCLA to here, Loyola Marymount. Now, there may not be a debate at all because they're striking there, too.
The Los Angeles Loyola Marymount Cafeteria Workers Union says it's asking for modest pay and health care improvements. And if that labor standoff slips into next week, all 7 qualified candidates, Biden, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Steyer, Sanders, Warren, and Yang, say they will not cross a picket line to debate.
So that means there would be no debate, and I would just sit there and laugh. So you're not going to cross a picket line because of the cafeteria that has nothing. So you moved from one place because of a dispute with labor and the actual arena itself and where they were going to use it at UCLA to another place where you thought, okay, this is not, you're not holding the debate in the cafeteria, but you're not going to, oh my God. Here we go. You know what? If I was struggling at school, like on a test, I'm like, man, I know I'm going to struggle and I know I need a couple more days. I would just try to get somebody in there to start picketing, and I'd have to tell my teacher, there's no way I can come to school today, professor. Right? Because, I can't. I can't cross the picket line and learn. It's just impossible. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. I do love hearing from you with all of this stuff going on, and it is a usual crazy insanity and lunacy in the world of politics. There's other things happening, too, including SCOTUS getting involved in something, and oh, goodness me, man. Does it ever end with Trump at all?
The justices agreed to hear all 3 of President Trump's challenges to subpoenas from 2 House committees and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which is seeking the president's tax returns as part of an investigation into hush payments to women who alleged affairs. The House Oversight Committee wants them for the same reason, and the Financial Services Committee wants his records to investigate Russian money laundering and potential foreign influence. Oral arguments are scheduled for March, with a decision in June, smack in the middle of a presidential campaign.
Yeah. So there's something, right? It's like there's always something. Embattled is like the least that he is when it comes to a day-to-day kind of thing and the coverage and all of this stuff. I just sit there and think to myself, my God, People are asking me, isn't it great for business? And I'll say, look, I like to cover everything. Like today, we're going to talk about 50 different things, right? Everything from, Javaris Jenkins, the former quarterback of the Giants and what he says, to what's going on with Blink cameras, to an odd adult-ish Christmas lights, to, everything in between. We got a lot of stuff to cover. And even in politics, some of this stuff really sucks out the air and oxygen of everything around, because it feels like it's always a battle. It feels like 24/7 there's something new, some new drama that's going on. And I'll be honest, after a while it does get a bit old, right? And some of it is Trump. Case in point, yesterday, Greta being named the person of the year or the day before, and the battle that went on there, and then he shoots off a tweet about her, tells her to chill and go see a movie. Well, everybody, I'm going to go see a movie this weekend. There's nothing wrong with going seeing a movie. But, why? And you didn't need to do that. And then people attack her. He never once mentions that she has Asperger's or anything like that. He says, you need to chill and stop being so angry and go see a movie and smile a bit more or something like that. And people are like, why would you attack somebody with Asperger's? I'm like, why did you go right to there? And you shouldn't attack a kid. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't go after, they've got a battle going on. Right? They got a battle going on. Let's be real. Part of the reason she was named Times Person of the Year is because Trump doesn't like her. If Trump loved her, she probably wouldn't get it. They'd be like, we can't give it to her. Trump likes her. And then people are like, well, that's not very fair. That's bullying. When people go after Barron, I'm like, well, it's totally different with Barron. How's it different? Because Barron doesn't ask for it. Barron's not giving speeches at the UN. Barron's not out there, right? Shaming everybody, telling them how bad things are, and it's all the other people's fault. How dare you ruin their life? Barron's not doing that. That's a different thing. You can go after Trump's other kids, minus the one I like, the blonde one that nobody talks about. Right? Like, she's not doing it. She didn't want any part of this. But the other kids have asked for it, right? They've gotten involved. They've asked for it. So they're in the line of fire in the social media world. Greta, she's in the line. Why? Because she wants to bring awareness. And when you bring awareness, you're going to get criticism. Doesn't matter what takes place. Doesn't matter who you are. At some point in time, you're going to get hit with criticism, even if you're 16. And I said yesterday, my biggest complaint about all of these things was what? Whether it was David Hogg or Greta or any of these other things that go on that are issues, social-based issues, is when you bring a child into it or a youngster. A lot of people think, well, they can't say anything about this person, right? They can't do that because it's a child. Now, but when you court it, you put yourself out there. I'm sorry, right? There's that's just it. When you put yourself in a position of these things, and you want to be out there and you're willing to do it, boom. I never talked about Obama's kids except to stick up for them when somebody in some organization said something about it. And never once. Why? Because they didn't ask for it. They didn't. When you put yourself out there and you put yourself in a position, you may get criticized. Now, do people go too far? Absolutely. 110%. Too far for the love of the person and too far for the hate. But the Barron thing, when people say, well, he's bullying. No, it's a totally different thing. Barron does not ask for it. At all. At all. If Barron was in front of the UN and he was saying stuff and he was going places, he was criticizing, guess what? You know what? He'd be asking for it, but he's not. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Text the program. You can text us your love, your hate. Remember, when we have a discussion about whatever it is that we're discussing, I always ask you to start a conversation in a normal way, and then we can have a discussion. When you start out by insulting people, that doesn't work. I was just on Twitter, and I saw Sally Fields was trending, and I was like, oh, okay, so Danny Aiello died today? And I'm like, oh, okay, no. She got arrested today, too, for climate stuff, because that's that time. So she supported, like every Friday is Get Arrested with Jane Fonda Day. Even Friday the 13th. Get arrested with Jane Fonda? What? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens. Join for free right now. Benefits are incredible. Fastest growing organization for people over 50 in the country. They're out there working hard for you to make sure that things like immigration reform, Social Security, Medicare, all of these things are taken care of and they're fought for. And that the things that our politicians do will not impact the lives of people over 50 in a negative way, which too often it can. Plus, they got great benefits. When you join the organization, you get retail, restaurant, hotel discounts on insurance, and I mean, you name it, they've got it. And including, I'm telling you, amusement park discounts are great. And on top of that, the movie discounts. You know how expensive movies are? Yeah. Great organization. And right now you join for free. It's on me. It's 1 year. It's free. Go to amac.us/Chad. That's amac.us/Chad, or call 888-355-1617. That's 888-355-1617. It's 1 year. It's free. It's on me. amac.us/Chad. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Boys, give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers.
One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
Two sides have agreed after tough negotiations. We will translate English to Chinese, Chinese to English, and so forth. And we'll have a ministerial signing between Liu He and Bob Lighthizer. And then it's just, we will see how it works. We will see if the Chinese stay with their word.
Larry Kudlow right there. So they got a deal done, trade deal for China and the U.S. that we're going to cut some tariffs, remove some tariffs, not raise any more tariffs on certain things. In return, they're going to agree to buy some of our agricultural products. And you don't know how real that is, right? I mean, that's the thing. You don't know how real that is because they promise a lot, and then a lot of times, that's why, like Larry said, Kudlow, well, we'll see if it works.
We were exporting over $20 billion of agriculture in 2016. You know, that's dropped down to 7, 8, 9 billion. We're on track to reach maybe 10 billion this year. So, you know, our ag exports to China have basically been cut in half.
Yeah. So we'll see. Again, we'll see if they keep their word, and then they'll revisit it, you know, in the new year. But does anybody trust that that's going to happen? I'm going to go out on a limb and say I got to see it to believe it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Oh, the flu season is here. Big time.
It's here, flu season, and it's in full swing. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says it's widespread in 23 states. The tally of those who have died so far this season now reaching 1,300 nationwide. The CDC estimates there have been at least 2.6 million flu illnesses and 23,000 hospitalizations to date. Federal health workers urging people to get their flu shots, especially younger children and seniors.
I was reading an article the other day saying, it's really funny is we don't require kids and certain people to get flu vaccinations or flu shots. I mean, it's as much as you can get. That we don't require them like we require other things. And I was like, yeah, that is kind of an odd thing that we don't require certain things. You can't force somebody in some ways, you know, especially an adult. But when you work with the public, and you should always want to. I mean, I'm fortunate. I'm kind of in a room by myself, you know, talking to myself is kind of weird, but it is what it is. But I do, you know, and if you work with kids, I mean, let's be real, or you have kids, it's usually a good thing to do. The people that have died, you know, with a high majority of them are very, very young, too young for vaccinations, flu shots, and the old or people that already have compromised immune systems. You know, if you're an average adult, even if you get the flu, the chances of you dying, unless you just are a mess or let it go if it gets really bad and don't pay attention to it, it's not super high. But it's, you know, again, anything can happen. And this is one of those things where the opportunity and the precautions there, especially for older people and some younger, again, not too young, to take somewhat care of themselves. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Last night and yesterday, the Brits were wondering what's going to happen. They have a huge, massive election, third one in like 16 months. And according to the polls, it was going to be rather close.
Britain has woken up to a landslide victory by Conservative Party leader and Trump favourite Boris Johnson. It's the biggest win for a Conservative Prime Minister since Margaret Thatcher more than 30 years ago. Now, his campaign was characterised by disinformation, I think it's fair to say, but Johnson's Get Brexit Done slogan cut through in a huge way. It demolished the opposition in areas that had voted to leave the European Union 3 years ago.
Yeah, so it won big, and people are asking the question, because the left got hammered. Jeremy Corbyn was what we would consider the Democrat, and he was very progressive, and it was ugly. And this was, imagine having a vote where there is no, we call for the vote. We're going to have the vote in early January or, mid-February. So you don't have a lot of time to get prepared, and it's going to be for everything. So every senator and congressperson, everything's up for grabs. And the conservatives won it handily. And people are asking because they're facing beatdowns across much of Europe and elsewhere. Is this something that all of the left should be worried about? Because a lot of them, including somebody like Jeremy Corbyn, who says he's quitting and he's no longer going to run the party, he was very, very, very left. Kind of Bernie-esque, wanted to nationalize a lot of stuff, wanted to do a lot of, and that scared a lot of people over there. Plus, him talking about we're not going to leave Brexit, we're not going to do it, we're going to re-vote on it, scared some people who were even in the middle about it, but thought the people had spoken, and you never even could get it done. So you're literally going and canceling out their vote. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. He said the R word in a tweet. Now he's unemployed. Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is the beginning of the process of him going down in history as only the third president to be impeached. Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, Richard Nixon, obviously resigning before it reached this level. This is something the president did not want, a scar on his legacy.
I don't think he cares. I think he looks at them as no big deal. Right? Almost something he feels like, yeah, this is a scar. I've been through the wars. I did an appearance today on ABC, The Briefing Room, and we were all talking about Trump. And one of the things that they talked about is the fact, and we've talked about it before, is Trump loves to get in your face. He loves to go hard. He loves to challenge you. He loves to beat you. And they say in some of the trials that Trump has been in, and we're not talking about these, we're talking about like in his business world, he loves to destroy you. He wants to destroy you so bad. He wants to drag you through the mud. He wants to get you to submit. And he wants everybody to see it. He wants you to make you think to yourself, I shouldn't have done this. I should have just let it go. I shouldn't have done this. I should have just ignored it. And that's one of the things that I think the Democrats are looking at now that they've got this through is they're hoping that Mitch McConnell gets his way and that it's quick and easy and simple because that's kind of what Mitch would like. What they don't want is potentially, and Trump said today, I don't care. I don't care if it's a long one or a short one. I don't care. Trump's been, the minute they started talking about this in earnest after the Mueller thing, the minute that happened, right? Because if they found out some nastiness, here's the difference between this and the Mueller thing. If they found out, and I've talked to, I talked to several senators, congresspeople, people inside of their camps on both sides of the aisle. If there was real bad stuff inside Mueller, stuff that was absolutely so over the line, where he was doing everything to totally manipulate, like literally doing everything he could to find, to change votes, do stuff like that, he'd be gone. That would be a bridge too far for them. This, they think, is all politics, especially because they looked at the other one now and said, oh, God, it's crying wolf again. But he wants this. Ever since this happened, he wants it. And the reason is simple. He wants to embarrass him. He wants to bring Adam Schiff out there and grill him to the point of no return. And here's the other thing. They're already threatening to do it again. And in Trump's mind, you're threatening to do it again. You're threatening me again. You're already saying this before we're into 2020, before we're even close to the election, knowing already that I'm going to be acquitted. You're threatening to do this to me again? Well, then you know what? Maybe, just maybe, we roll with it and we embarrass them and we crush them and we stomp on them. And when they think they're done, we stomp on them again. We do everything we can to make sure that before they go, hey, we need to do this again, they say, you know what? Maybe a censure. Maybe that might be better, because you saw what happened last time, right? And unless you're you have a glutton for punishment, you're probably going to pass it up. So yeah, there is that sense that Trump would like to get out there and embarrass the hell of him, turn it into a show, and do all he could to embarrass. Because as far as he's concerned, you've aired my laundry, so at this point in time, now your laundry needs to come out. I can take it. Can you?
The Democrats have been wanting to do this for 3 years. The first headline in the Washington Post before the president was inaugurated was they were going to impeach him. Well, they finally got around to it. Everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with White House counsel. There will be no difference between the president's position and our position as to how to handle this. But we'll be working through this process, hopefully in a fairly short period of time, in total coordination with the White House counsel's office and the people who are representing the president in the well of the Senate.
Yeah. So we'll see. Do I think that it's going to be long and drawn out? I do not. Do I think deep down Trump's probably like, yeah. And on top of that, they had a ton of lawyers lined up to defend him, and they're like, we don't need most of them. They were expecting 4 or 5 articles of impeachment, including stuff from Mueller. And there were several in the Democratic Party that really wanted to go deep, but they were talked out of it. They were like, no. No. So we'll see. We'll see what takes place. I think it'll be quick. It'll be 10 to 14 days. They haven't worked out the rules yet, and I think they'll probably get that done early in the new year before they get back. And when all is said and done, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mitch and Chuck, talk over the holiday season and say, let's try to do this. Because Chuck, he knows one thing. Mitch doesn't want a long, drawn-out thing, because while it doesn't embarrass Trump, and remember, Trump thinks about Trump. How can Trump win? How does Trump benefit? We talked about it yesterday. How do they all benefit? How do they all win? It's always about themselves. Well, Trump takes that to the ultimate. And it's not just about winning now. It's about sending a message in the future. Right? It's about the next time somebody goes to do something like this, that maybe, just maybe, you think about it, especially if he stomps some of them down to the point where some of them lose their seats. And it gets really to the point where you think about it. You do. You think about it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. His name is Janoris Jenkins. 54 tackles, 4 interceptions. I think it's 3rd or 4th this year as far as takeaways in the National Football League, playing with the Giants, used to play with the Giants, no longer playing with the Giants. And the reason is pretty simple. He did something he shouldn't have done and decided, yeah, you know what, I'm fine with that.
New York Giants cornerback Janoris Jenkins used an offensive word in a tweet Wednesday when questioned about his stats. One day later, the 31-year-old explained his use of that word.
It's just part of my culture, part of my slang that I use. I wasn't calling nobody no name like I said.
When reporters suggested that doesn't make his use of the word right, Jenkins said,
I never said it was right. I said it's a slang that I use back at home. I never said it was right.
Friday, the Giants waived Jenkins. Head coach Pat Shurmur said Jenkins' refusal to acknowledge the, quote, inappropriate and offensive language was the determining factor. Jenkins is now free to be claimed by any other NFL team.
Yeah, he's due about $1 million, $1.5 million. So if anybody can pick him up. He was not happy there. He was supposed to be a big addition a few years ago. It's not been a great thing. He's sick and tired of losing. And they asked him on more than a few occasions, about, whether or not he's going to use that word again.
Is that a word you'll use, continue to use going forward?
Next question.
Can you understand that if someone pointed out something physically different about you,
next question,
if they said something about how you look, how that would be offensive, and how your apology to say, I'm sorry if I'm offended, doesn't come across as genuine?
Next question.
I'm only here so I don't get fined. Yeah. So he used the R word, by the way, for those of you not keeping score. And, he just didn't seem to care. He didn't. He didn't seem to care at all. And he's been released. And will somebody pick him up? Of course. If he can help a team, they'll pick him up. Here's the thing about the NFL. If you can help a team, we're willing to overlook a lot of things. Right? We're willing to overlook a lot of things. Greg Hardy a few years ago, domestic violence issues that were really bad, pictures of his ex-girlfriend, but somebody took a run at him. Who? Well, at the time, it was the Cowboys. Why? Because a few things you need to do in the NFL. You need to have a great quarterback to win, and you need to get to the quarterback, and he's a guy that gets to the quarterback. Now he's an MMA fighter, and quite frankly, from what I understand, a damn good one. If this guy can help, he will. Well, what about somebody like Colin Kaepernick? Colin Kaepernick he didn't want to play. And secondly, I don't know if he'd be worth the headache that may come with it. And you never could tell if the guy really wanted to be there or not. But this was something that I don't think he really cares too much about. This guy's like, I don't care what I called somebody. That's what I use. That's the language I use. And so deal with it. Okay, well, you're unemployed. But somebody can pick him up. And don't think that he could go. Don't think it's insane for him to go from a team that is 2-10 or whatever they are, 2-11. They're awful. Did they beat you, Phil? I thought they beat you guys.
They probably did.
Probably. Everybody's beat you. The Toronto Argonauts beat you, and they're not even in the NFL. And don't think that it would be crazy for him to go from a team like this to end up on a team like the Seattle Seahawks or some of these other teams that have a run at the Super Bowl. Why? Because it's a win-now league. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Do love hearing from you. What would you do?
Ruth Balloon, yes, that's her real name, decided to check her bank balance this week and was shocked to find that she had $37,203,337.66 in her checking account. She was hoping against hope that it was an incredibly generous gift from someone and not a clerical error. Well, it was a clerical error. Ruth is hoping for a little thank you reward from the bank for her honesty in reporting the mistake. So far, she hasn't heard back.
And she shouldn't. It was a clerical error. You didn't find 36,000 quadrillion dollars or diamonds or anything. You didn't find anything on the street and you're like, oh my God, this stuff was in a backpack and I found it. What am I going to do with it? There was $36 million. Now, you go to the bank and you say, hey, I think there was a mistake here. I would like to think that it was a crazy, aunt that left me a lot of money. But, hopefully you guys give me no. We were talking about it earlier, and Anthony said, look, this happens quite a bit. He goes, when I was younger, I got my first loan. It was supposed to be for $4,000, and they gave me $10,000. And I went back and said there was a mistake. And he goes, then I asked him, would they have caught me? And he goes, not right away. But this is back in the day before, as computerized we are now. He goes, but they would have caught you when they audited at the end of the year, and you'd have been in trouble. That's theft. And she's like, I would like this. No, they made a mistake. Here's a toaster. They still give away toasters? I don't think they give away toasters. That's sexist. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. What if I like toast? Tough. Computer systems. You've got one in your car. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe your car's a little older, but you like it. You don't want to get rid of it, right? Fits you. What are you going to do if something goes wrong? If you have CarShield, you're going to call them. Why? Because you have 24/7 roadside assistance. You have a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. You choose the shop. You take it over there or have it taken there. You pay a deductible. They get them paid directly. Boom. That is a win. So we got a guy that works here, Lloyd. Love him to death. I've been telling him for a long time, get CarShield. Get CarShield. You know what, get CarShield. He asked me like 2-3 weeks ago, hey, what's that thing again? I said, here, it's CarShield. He doesn't call. The other day, his car goes, tells me today it's about $700 to get fixed. So with CarShield, that wouldn't have happened. Oh, wah. Electronics, they take care of it. Whatever your budget is, whatever you need for your car, they have it. They will take care of you like nobody's business. Call them today. Explain to them exactly what you're looking for. They'll handle it. Call 800-CAR-6000, 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson, saves you 10%, or carshield.com, carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where the sensible center hangs out. Hey, you! That doesn't mean you can put your feet up on the table.
You're despicable. This is Chad Benson.
A big sequel should take the top spot at the box office this weekend, and no, it isn't Frozen 2.
Where's the jungle? This is a whole new thing. Nobody told us we had to do a whole new thing.
Jumanji, the next level, will dethrone the Ice Queens, looking at an opening somewhere in the $40 to $50 million range, which would be better than the first film in 2017. Also opening, the horror remake Black Christmas and Clint Eastwood's Richard Jewell.
You always look at the guy who found the bomb, just like you always look at the guy who found the body.
Which is generating award season buzz as well as controversy.
Yeah, I'm going to go see that. Not this weekend. Jack and I got already planned out for tomorrow. Got our day going out to San Diego. So he and I are picking him up. We're going to go straight to our breakfast. Is going to be popcorn and a hot dog and a drink and watching Jumanji. He's like, Dad, this is going to be so much fun. He loves Jumanji. And I'm interested to see what next week's going to be like because it's massive. You got the last Star Wars coming out and people are already camping in line. They've got their tickets, but they're still camping in line already a week before the movie. So I'm hoping there'll be some weirdos out there camping. I'm hoping. We'll see. We'll see. I have never, ever thought to myself, I need to camp out for this. And that was back in the day. Like for those of you guys who are old enough to remember, back in the day, we used to have to go to like Warehouse Records to camp out to get concert tickets because there wasn't computers except for in the stores, and you couldn't do stuff like like now where the ticket brokers buy everything and you have to buy them second market. It was crazy. So you'd have to camp out. Now, nope, nothing. No way. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love talking to each and every one of you. So what will happen with Mr. Trump? One of the things I'm overhearing on a daily basis when it comes to this entire impeachment thing, in particular, the right, I'm sick and tired of the way that they argue at times and yell and stuff. And the left has their point too, but I'm sick of this.
Today is a solemn and sad day. For the third time in a little over a century and a half, the House Judiciary Committee has voted articles of impeachment against the president for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress.
Yeah, you're not sad. So let's step back. You felt you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're not sad. None of this is upsetting you. You guys have been pushing for this since jump. So I'm kind of over I'm really sad about this. I'm really sad. It's a solemn day. Nobody's happy.
I take issue and insult that one would suggest the work of this committee
is about a dislike for those who voted for President Trump. President Trump is before this committee in articles of impeachment for his own behavior.
Yeah. We're not celebrating. We're not. No, you don't celebrate in public, right? You go somewhere else to celebrate. You high five. Look what we did. We did. You didn't like him. I'm okay with that. I got no problem with that. But I feel really sorry. This is a somber day for America. Nobody's buying it. Nobody's buying it. And I'm okay with that. Just be honest. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Check out the Instagram as well. That's the IG for the kids. That's what the kids call it in this day and age. You can check that out and go to the chadshow.com. You know what you can do there? You can get your podcast. You can, right there. You can go there, grab your podcast, see the latest of what's going on in the show, all of that stuff. And, yeah, we even got a Facebook. Yeah, I know. It's crazy, right? Well, Facebook's not ours. We're just on the Facebook. Do you call it the Facebook? It's the Chad Benson Show on Facebook as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The resolution as amended is ordered reported favorably to the House.
So both of the articles of impeachment have left now the Judicial Committee, the committee. So boom, it's gone. Now, travels down or over to the Senate. And it leaves the hands of the Republicans for which thine controlled, and now heads over to Mitch McConnell, which thine don't control.
Let's hope that there's sufficient clamor within the Senate and within the country to make him rethink this idea of coordinating strategy with the defendant in the case. The president is essentially a constitutional defendant.
Essentially, that's what he is. But it doesn't matter, right? We know what's going to happen because Mitch has already come out and said what's going to happen, and he is coordinating with them on how they want to go about doing this because it's politics.
The Democrats have been wanting to do this for 3 years. The first headline in the Washington Post before the president was inaugurated was they were going to impeach him. Well, they finally got around to it. Everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with White House counsel. There will be no difference between the president's position and our position as to how to handle this. But we'll be working through this process, hopefully in a fairly short period of time, in total coordination with the White House counsel's office and the people who are representing the president in the well of the Senate.
And the council won't be as big as some people thought. Many people thought within the White House that there was going to be a lot more articles instead of just 2. And we've talked about it, like, are they going to go, shallow but wide or narrow and deep? They went narrow and deep, at least with these 2 charges. Doesn't mean that, they couldn't have done more, but it means that they're not going to need as many attorneys as they thought they were going to need. Now, what will Trump want to do with it? It's the thing about Trump. That's very interesting and is what Trump likes to do. Trump likes to send messages. Trump doesn't want to win. He wants to destroy. Trump doesn't just want to beat you. He wants to take your will to compete away. He wants you to question if this was the right move. And there's a lot of reasons to do that, right? Psychologically, there's a lot of reasons because you've already got people in the Democratic Party talking about, I don't even care about this. We still have 2020, and if he wins, we'll keep coming. At some point in time, you figure if I send a message so big that, and I can break the will that maybe, just maybe, they won't do it. And that's in sports. That's in a lot of things. But he's done this before in trials where he's made the defendants or the, he was the defendant, and he's made the people that brought up civil charges against him, in many cases, rue the day that they did so, because he wants to win. And he wants to win in such a way that he'll lose money to beat you, because it sends messages across the board to everybody out there. If you come, this what might happen to you. This right here is something that might happen to you. We'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. What do you spend your dollar bills on?
So you've got a few extra bucks. Do you save it or maybe buy a lottery ticket? A survey by Bankrate says the less money you make, the more you'll take the second option. Analyst Amanda Dixon.
It's best to put that money aside and either save it or invest it, because it's going to go a lot further that way in the long run.
But Dixon adds the occasional vice doesn't hurt most people.
No, and the occasional. And we touched a bit on this the other day about what people do with their money. And what smart people do with their money, who have long-term strategy and thinking, and and people who struggle, who live paycheck to paycheck, and how the choices across the board, not just in certain things, but in a lot of things, make you go, oh, look at what they're doing there. Think about this. And so here's what Bankrate went through this whole thing. So U.S. adults who earn under $30,000 a year admit to spending money not just on lottery tickets, right? Alcohol, tobacco, and gambling as well. Disproportionate amount comparatively. So when you think you spend, these are people under $30,000. They say some of them spend 13% of their money on lottery tickets, 11% on alcohol, 13% on tobacco, 4% on gambling. You start adding some of these things up over time. You're like, whoa, that's huge, right? You're spending, let's just say, even if you're only doing two of those, anywhere between 17% or 15%, about 30% of your income on stuff like tobacco, alcohol, lottery tickets. When you go to people who make $50,000 plus to $70,000 to $80,000, it's 1% on lottery tickets, 3% on alcohol, 4% on tobacco, 5% on gambling. But when you get to $80,000 plus, 1% on lottery tickets, 1% on alcohol, 1% on tobacco or e-cigarette products, 2% on gambling. Choices. And I will throw a few bucks here and there out on the old lottery when it gets to a certain amount. Why? Because it could change your life in such a way. But it's only when it gets to a certain amount. What's your amount, Producer Phil? Because we always joke about this. What's your amount when you say, okay, I'm going to take a run at this?
Oh, 150, 200 mil.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Once it gets to that, like, hey, nobody's won in 3 months, and you're looking up going, all right, this is just for a laugh. Overall, men spend more than double than women on the 4 financial vices. $3,200 a year compared to $1,600 for women. So if you're making, let's say, $30,000 a year, and the average man spends $3,200 a year, so you're spending 10% of your income overall on certain things. Millennials, on average, spend about $2,995 on these 4 categories. Gen Xers about $1,800. Boomers about $1,950. So gambling, though, men gamble $2,700 compared to about $1,400 for women. Alcohol is also a big vice for men, $2,100 compared to $1,100. That's because some of that $2,100 is buying other people beers and wine and stuff. It's not fair. But it's about dead even when it comes to tobacco. But those are choices. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you look up there and you're like, that's not a good choice. Especially here's the thing. Think about this. If you're making, let's say, $28,000 a year and you spend $3,200 a year on stuff, right? So after taxes and everything, you're not pulling in a ton of money and you're spending $3,200 a year. What would you do? Let's just say if you had an extra $2,000, right? At the end of the year. You'd be like, whoa, that'd be great. Yeah. People don't think that. They think the now, and these are the vices. And I understand the lottery thing, right? Because you want to get out of there and you think, it's $2 here, $3 there. But it's just like everything else. You know, it's like, I always look back because I go get a couple iced teas during the day that'll get me through, from the morning all the way through because I work a lot and that's my caffeine. But I think to myself, if I drink water, I spend $3-4 a day on that. And they're really cool next door. They'll let me go over and refill it if I want it or whatever. But at the end of the year, I was like, geez, how much money have I spent there? That's like my big vice. Because I travel so much to go see Jack and do a lot of stuff, I started thinking to myself, wow, look at a lot of the money that's out there. Now, I do invest and I do a lot of other things, and I'm very fortunate in what I do. But, even for me, I feel, I look and say, where can I cut? What can I do better with the money? And that's what I try to teach the kids. And it's okay every once in a while, I'm not lying, to go out there and do something fun, right? Get you a little say, hey, it's $200 million. Why not take a run? Even if you get lucky and you get like 5 numbers and you get like $100,000, it's a life changer. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us, text the program as well. If you are going to do something with your money and you want to give, Wounded Paw, that's all you need to know. Wounded Paw. Amazing. Especially this, think about the time of year it is. People out there celebrating the holidays. You got Hanukkah starting next week, and then you got Christmas, later on during the week. You have all of these things going. You have people who are struggling, are veterans. They're coming home, and they're struggling with PTSD. They're struggling with stuff that we can see. They've lost a limb. They've been injured, and they need something. They do. And that something, in a lot of ways, is an animal, a dog. A service dog that helps them emotionally, maybe helps them because they have physical ailments. And that's where Wounded Paw comes in. They saw the need because when they set this up, it was because of a dog that changed the lives of the founder of Wounded Paw. And he continues to say, she's the dog. She's the one. She did the whole thing. It's her. They rescue dogs, take them from shelter dogs to service dogs, but they need your help. Their mission is simple: connect the furry best friends of the world with our nation's heroes. Wounded Paw, their motto is simple: save a life. Save a paw is to save a life. That is so real. Now's your chance to help. They're looking for any unwanted vehicles. Maybe you got a vehicle that's sitting there, it's not doing anything, you're going to trade it in, you're going to sell, but you're like, donate it. Get a great tax-deductible gift. Save yourself a little bit of, hey, taxes right there. Yeah, I donated a car this year. It's great, but also feel good inside. They also take cash as well. But check it out for yourself. Go to woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org. See the difference they're making in the lives of our soldiers, our first responders, and the veterans, and the dogs themselves. You can call them directly to it, 844-678-4PAW, 844-678-4729, or woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? There is plenty on this Friday the 13th, which, yes, is trending everywhere. Because it's Friday the 13th, baby. You know what I'm saying? It's not just a movie. It's an unlucky number for some. It's a superstition. What? Let's see here. 2017 through 2020, we will have 2 Friday the 13ths. And the years 2021 and 22, we'll have just 1 occurrence each year. So we'll get 2 next year, and then we're going to just get 2 the following 2 years combined. Trichoideacophobia, probably said it wrong, is the fear of Friday the 13th. So, unlucky for some. Friday the 17th is the one in Italy, by the way, if you're going to be... Those Italians, they mess everything out. Doesn't sound as cool, right? Like Friday the 17th. You're like, oh, well, that doesn't sound like a scary movie. Check out what's on Twitter. Drop out Bloomberg. He must have done something. Something about an intern or something like that, and people are already mad at him. They're angry at him. You're angry at you. Everybody's always angry. Home Alone 3, trending big time. Absolutely. Big time. Because it's Christmas time and they decided, hey, let's reboot this. But based on the TV shows we talked about yesterday, I'm okay with some of the reboots at this point in time. You head on over. What? To Google. Army-Navy game tomorrow. That'll be fun. If you like seeing the triple option and 3 passes, it's the game for you. Chad, that's not very nice. Janoris Jenkins, who we talked about earlier, who said the R word. Yes, he tweeted it out, and then he wouldn't take it back because that's how he talks. That's how they talk in the hood. And so still trending is that. And Danny Aiello, the great actor, passed away today. He was a hell of an actor, too. I was looking at a lot of the stuff that he was, in. And, man, he was in Moonstruck, He was in The Last On 2. He was in, The Purple Rose at Cairo, Harlem Nights, Hudson Hawk, awful movie. But Godfather, right? Once Upon a Time in America. The Professional, I loved him in that. So, he had a successful career, but he passed away today at age 86. And, he was just a good – you look at him and you're like, that's just a dude. That's a guy who acts. He's not – yeah, he's just a guy. That's it. Just a guy. Guy who had some talent, said, I'm going to try this thing. I'm always amazed. You go and read stories, especially of older actors. You go back and look at them and I served in World War II, and then I decided I'm going to go off to Hollywood. And, the next thing, I got a contract, and I'm doing 30 movies a year because they film movies in 10 seconds. And, it's just wow. Yeah, I just thought I'd try it because I didn't want to, use a hammer. Okay. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me your love, your hate, whatever you've got. I'm good with it. But what do we always talk about here on the old Chad Benson Show? Just do it nicely.
Plant-based meat, or fake meat as some might call it, is wildly popular, especially on Wall Street.
Fake meat?
We're going to talk about fake meat. We are. We're going to talk about some fake meat. I will tell you guys this. We're going to discuss it. It's so people here today, right? Because we had birthday cake. Because my birthday's next week. We had birthday cake for all the people and birthdays in December. But they were talking about fake meat, and because somebody went and got one of those, what was it, the Beyond Meat burger, whatever it is, and everybody keeps saying the same thing we've talked about earlier, guys, was just what's in it, sodium, and somebody said, I feel like if I eat this in 5 years, I'm going to regret it. Oh, yeah, you didn't know we put asbestos in it? How's the taste? It's delicious. The good news is, though, you're not eating meat. We're talking about fake meat. That sounds so weird, though, right? I've always, if we're not supposed to eat meat, why are you making things taste like meat? Because we like meat. That's why. That's the crazy thing. It's not because meat doesn't taste good. No, meat tastes delicious. And that's the problem. And here's something else that even creeps me out more, as we were talking about earlier, and we're going to get deeper into this thing a little bit, but the thing that is also weird is, they're trying to make it bleed. I don't need that. I don't. Right? At some point, I don't need that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Still don't have a steak. Tweet at me. Text the program. Check out the Instagram as well. Go to thechadshow.com. Grab your podcast. It is The Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
Your article is agreed to. The resolution as amended is ordered reported favorably to the House.
Very exciting. It's not exciting, Chad. It's a solemn day. Just listen to them. This is not a day to be excited.
As I looked at the members of our delegation, if you will, the members on our side, Democrats, not one person was gleeful. Not one person had a happy note. We were glad that we were able to use the Constitution in an orderly and somber and sober manner.
They're not going to be gleeful in front of the cameras, right? You get a penalty for that, right? You can't showboat in front of the cameras, right? Right into somebody else's. Like Nadler wasn't going to, and the order is totally ordered and stuff, and then boom, and then drops the hammer and throws it in the air and looks at old Collins and goes, scoreboard. And then get that, throw a flag, 15-yard penalty, being a douche. Can't do that. This is what they've wanted, and they've got it. There you go. We're moving on. They're going to take it up next week, right? They're going to take it up next week for real in the House. So we went through the two committees. Now the committees have now voted it. 23-17 was the final tally. That goes now to the full House where they'll debate it, and then they'll have a full vote on it. Then it will actually go to the point where it takes up. So we'll have full impeachment. It's now the removal side of it. It's the trial itself. Essentially, he's been indicted. As of next Wednesday, it'll be official. The indictments will be handed down. These are the indictments. There are two. Obstruction of Congress, abuse of power, which is very broad, right? And now, away it goes. And that's where Mitch takes over, and we'll see what happens. Right? They could come out and say, well, this is not a good day. This is not but you guys have been aiming for this. And there you go. So enjoy it. You've got it. Have a vote on it. And then next year, once they're back from their vacation and their holiday break, it'll be time to actually take this to, quote unquote, the court and the people and the jury and let them decide.
This is really a travesty for America, and it's really tearing America apart.
Everybody always says that. That's a big thing. It's tearing America apart. Is it really? Like, I'm not torn up by it. I'm actually bored by it. And I say that because we've said everything we possibly can. I said yesterday, I was doing a show yesterday in an interview, and I said, it reminds me of like Super Bowl, right? So they start the pregame to the pregame to the pregame to the pregame at like 8 or 9 in the morning, right? And by the time the kickoff comes at like 5:42, because it was a weird kickoff, PM on the East Coast, 3:42 on the West Coast. By the time the ball's kicked, they've had 700 things that they've talked about, and all of them after a while are just the same thing. And that's what it was yesterday. By the time that he decided, Nadler, that, we're not going to vote on tonight, I want everybody to think about it, and and everybody got mad at him because he's making a show of it. By the time all of that stuff happened, it was like, you guys have been here for 14 hours, and no matter what time I turned the TV, sound on, you were saying the same thing over and over. It wasn't on repeat. It was just the same thing over and over. Everything that needs to be said has been said. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. And again, less than a week, 6 days from now, there's actually going to be a debate where the people that are still running for president on the left side are going to get up and they're going to do their thing because they're still running for president. Bernie will be up there. Cory Booker will not be up there. So that's interesting to see how they take that, because he said last week, with Kamala dropping out, who, in fairness, would have qualified, apparently, for this debate, but she just didn't have the money to go on. So, but there won't be that diversity, I think, that Cory Booker once, and we'll see how they handle it. But Bernie's being Bernie today.
What this campaign is about is to make certain that once again in America, we will return to a democracy of one person, one vote, not billionaires buying elections.
We're not. We're a republic, right? Representative republic. It's what we are here, right? So different. Not a democracy. We're not a mob rule. We're represented equally across the board as what's supposed to be. So that way, when people vote because of the Electoral College, because if you went by popular vote all the time, it would be mob rule. So what you would have is the populated areas would be what? They would rule everything. So you would have East Coast, West Coast rule the roost and say what goes down, period, case closed. And it's not what we are, right? We want it to be, because at that point in time, I mean, my big worry has always been, so let's just say that does happen at some point in time, that they get the thing they want, because, you hear them clamoring this, we want to get rid of the Electoral College, and this should be the last time that we have the Electoral. So you get rid of that. What's next? Are you going to start taking on states' rights, letting the federal government truly overrun the states in a way that you couldn't think, and all of a sudden you will have mob rule, and people in D.C., New York, and L.A. telling everybody basically who doesn't live there, this is how you're going to live the life. And I think that would get uglier than this billionaires and millionaires buying stuff, which I sit back and that bores me. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. What are you coming up with new? Just curious, right? And Michael Bloomberg, who I have disagreement with in some things, he said, I have every right to run for president in this country. I have every right. Anybody has the opportunity and right to run for president that should do it. And if stop talking about it. If you want to do it, then do it. But I have just as much right as somebody else. And we forget that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me your love, your hate, all of those things. I'm totally fine with that, and for sure. So, what do people spend money on? I found this to be very interesting. We touched on it a bit yesterday. And, cigarettes, gambling, lottery, who makes what, that really shows you where they spend some of their money.
So you've got a few extra bucks. Do you save it or maybe buy a lottery ticket? A survey by Bankrate says the less money you make, the more you'll take the second option. Analyst Amanda Dixon.
It's best to put that money aside and either save it or invest it, because it's going to go a lot further that way in the long run.
But Dixon adds the occasional vice doesn't hurt most people.
Yeah, and it doesn't, right? It doesn't. So, it gets up to, I look at it like once you start getting to, that 150, 200 million, 3 million, that's, throw a couple bucks at it. It's fun because who knows, right? But too often, people who are living paycheck to paycheck, what are they trying to do? They're trying to get out of that lifestyle, and nothing gets them there quicker than that. They don't understand that investing isn't something they're doing. Maybe they have a 401k, but probably not. And they're living, and it's just easier. And they also talked about cigarettes, alcohol, all of those things. People over $80,000, what are they spending their money on? Not that. And not to the tune of 8 and 10% by some of these things. And that stuff adds up. When you look at, when you start breaking things down inch by inch, and it's 3% here, 4% there, 8% there, all of a sudden you're up to 15 or 20% of your income you're paying on things that are vices. That's not a win. That's not sound investment. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Speaking of sound investment, Blink cameras, very sound for you. Absolutely incredible. Great way to protect. I was talking to one of my best friends, and she ordered her son a Christmas present, and he listens, so I won't say what it is. But showed up at the house, and it arrived, and then it disappeared. And she was so upset. Of course. She'd saved up for it. It's what he really, really wanted. He didn't think he was going to get it. Super surprised. And boom, gone. I said, keep telling me, you should got Blink. This is what these things are set up for. Motion activated in front of your house, perfect place. I've got mine there, and I've also got my Blink cameras all over with my lizards and stuff, but it's just great. You have a smartphone app. You download that. What ends up happening is you get an alert. You'll see, oh, this thing's been, somebody's there. All of a sudden, boom, hey, two-way talk feature. Can you deliver that right around the backside here? Can you put this over here? Can you take it around to the neighbors? Whatever it is, so people won't what? Steal it. 1 in 5 people are going to face the realization that their Christmas presents or deliveries are being stolen this holiday season. Get yourself Blink cameras. They're incredible. The XT2 cameras are amazing, easy to set up, wire-free, a couple AA batteries, last you 2 years plus. And again, if I can set it up, you can set it up. No subscriptions, no contracts, none of that stuff. And right now, you're going to save up to 25% plus, while supplies last, a free Amazon Echo. This goes on all the way through December 24th. Now is your time. Jump on it quick. Go to blinkprotect.com/sale, blinkprotect.com/sale, blinkprotect.com/sale. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
New York Giants cornerback Janoris Jenkins used an offensive word in a tweet Wednesday when questioned about his stats. One day later, the 31-year-old explained his use of that word.
It's just part of my culture, part of my slang that I use. I wasn't calling nobody no name like I said.
When reporters suggested that doesn't make his use of the word right, Jenkins said,
I never said it was right. I said it's a slang that I use back at home. I never said it was right.
Friday, the Giants waived Jenkins. Head coach Pat Shurmur said Jenkins' refusal to acknowledge the, quote, inappropriate and offensive language was the determining factor. Jenkins is now free to be claimed by any other NFL team.
Yeah, and by the way, he's a hell of a player. He's a damn good player, right? He used the R word, by the way. That's what he used. He used the R word. People are going, what's the R word? He used the R word. He tweeted out later, best news ever, thank you. He's got 1 year left remaining, $11.25 million, which means absolutely nothing. So a team can claim him for the final 2 weeks. They'll owe him $1.2 million. 54 tackles this season, tied for fourth in the NFL with 4 interceptions. It hasn't been a good situation there, and I think he was looking to get out, and this gave him the opportunity to get out. And it's I don't know. This is like one of those things where he just said, "Nah, man, I'm not apologizing for anything at all." Right? And they kept trying to get him to say something.
Is that a word you'll use, continue to use going forward?
Next question.
Can you understand that if someone pointed out something physically different about you,
next question,
if they said something about how you look, how that would be offensive, and how your apology to say, I'm sorry if I'm offended, doesn't come across as genuine?
Next question.
Yeah, well, welcome to the world that we live in. And he didn't want to apologize, and he got cut. And that's that. Sad but true, this is the world we live in. And you just sit there and you shake your head and you're thinking, what are you doing? Do you not care? Right? Do you not pay attention? Do you not? No, he didn't care. And he said it. They asked him, are you going to use it again in the future? Next question. That's how I talk. Well, you're unemployed now, but we also live in a time where if you're good at what you do and you can be helpful, you watch, you'll be contrite if somebody says, are you going to apologize for that? Because if you do, we might have a place for you here on this team. If not, then he'll apologize if the opportunity pops up. And I think it eventually will. In this day and age, you never know who you may need, especially in a playoff run. And think about that. There's a chance he's going to go from a team that may win 4 games at best to a team that may be in the playoff hunt. He may not, but there's always that possibility. As bad as situations are, and understand this, in sports, if you can help a team, people will give you an opportunity. If you can help a team, no matter how bad you are, right? Like, remember Greg Hardy and what he did and his ex-girlfriend and the pictures and all of that stuff? But, hey, you know what? We're going to give you an opportunity over here. Why? Because you can – two things. You either have to have a great quarterback or you got to get to the quarterback. He could get to the quarterback. He could. This guy, you can't do that in this day and age, nor should you at any time. But when you put it out there, you scratch your head. You're like, really? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from every single one of you. Oh, yeah. Guess what, kids? It's time to get rid of that meat.
Plant-based meat, or fake meat as some might call it, is wildly popular, especially on Wall Street.
Fake meat is turning into real profit.
The stock market debut for Beyond Meat went beyond.
The hottest IPO of 2019 so far.
This stock has a cult-like following.
It's going to sweep over the world.
Our mission is very simple. It's to completely replace animals as a food technology by 2035. It's basically a prehistoric technology.
It's peak meat, right? That's what they say. By 2030, they want to get rid of and replace this. Here's my question. I talked about this on my national show a little bit earlier today. Is a lot of people, like we were talking about off the air, and then I touched on it, and I was getting a ton of text messages and tweets about how healthy are some of these things. Have you seen the sodium level? What's exactly in this quote-unquote fake meat? Because there seems to be a lot of chemicals, a lot of different things like that. As we're trying to move off something, you guys want to make the planet healthier, are we moving to something potentially that could make us not as healthy? Look at the caloric intake. Look at a lot of different things that go with this. But look at some of the chemicals and the sodium levels in some of these things, and it makes you go, that's interesting. Didn't think of it like that. It is interesting. It is very interesting to see what comes of these things. Much like people got excited about vape, people get excited about all of these things. Sometimes you get out there and you look around and you say, whoa, hold on a second. Is this everything it's cracked up to be in a healthy way? And what do we do with all the animals? That's what I've always wondered as well. Like, do we do anything with the animals? Do we get rid of them? I'm curious is what happens to the animals, right? Are we just going to kill them all in one day? How does this work? Right? Because that's what's killing the planet. It's the flatulence and all of that stuff. So what do we do with the animals? Do we just literally put them out to pasture until they start dying away? And then, I don't know, 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Maybe we'll have the biggest, largest, massive barbecue / luau / party ever. Possible. Follow along with me at Chad Benson Show for the Twitter. You can text us. Love hearing from you. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The resolution is amended as ordered reported favorably to the House.
Favorably. 23-17, a final score. A fantastic day indeed. And you saw the way that the ayes played. They were quick. They played good defense. They did what they had to do. The nays attacked where they had the chance, but the reality was it was stacked against them because there's more ayes than nays in this game. We should have announcers at these things. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome live. We're in this room in the middle of D.C., and it is going to be an exciting day of old people talking about the same thing for up to 14 hours before suddenly saying we're going to vote on it tomorrow. It was like cricket. You ever watch cricket? It's a game. Lasts a long time. Test matches last a very long time. 3 days. 3 days. 3 days. 3 days. That's a long time. Sometimes they'll break for dinner, tea. What are you doing? Gotta have a snack. Middle of the game. Okay. Oh, goodness. So here we go. What's this mean? Nothing. It means next week we're going to have an actual vote. next week on the House floor to take it to the Senate for a removal, right? So he'll be impeached, right? So like that's real. That's big news. He'll be impeached. So I want everybody to understand that. Impeachment does not mean removal. Too often than not, people don't understand that. What do you mean? No, impeachment, removal, separate things, right? Impeachment is what just took place. The first step towards the final vote on impeachment just took place. Now they'll have the final vote, and then away we go. Oh, yeah. Is what it is. Is what it is. I saw Nancy Pelosi today talking about the fact that somebody said, doesn't this feel like it's moving rather fast? And she's like, oh, no. We've been working this for 22 months. I'm like, well, that seems a bit odd because that was before. Like, this is like 3 months ago. So yes, they've been working on it since. That's the way it is. Now the question is, what about Trump, right? What's his legacy like?
This is the beginning of the process of him going down in history as only the third president to be impeached. Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, Richard Nixon, obviously resigning before it reached this level. This is something the president did not want, a scar on his legacy.
He doesn't care, right? He doesn't. Old. He enjoys this stuff. He enjoys this kind of stuff. I don't think he cares one bit. Well, he does something he doesn't want, a mark on his legacy. No. What he wants is to know that he survives it, comes out on the other side and goes, near, then wins again. So the minute all this was said and done, Trump had to come on out and do what Trump does, which is talk about the fact that this took place.
I think it's a horrible thing to be using the tool of impeachment, which is supposed to be used in an emergency, and it would seem many, many, many years apart, to be using this for a perfect phone call where the president of that country said there was no pressure whatsoever, didn't even know what we were talking about. It was perfect.
Perfect. Never been better. Again, never in the history of phone calls has there been anything as good as what took place there. And they're killing me for it. Oh, now the question is, what's going to go on at the White House as far as getting this thing ready? How does Mitch McConnell deal with it?
Let's hope that there's sufficient clamor within the Senate and within the country to make him rethink this idea of coordinating strategy with the defendant in the case. The president is essentially a constitutional defendant.
Yeah, except for the fact that this is politics, right? And it's what everybody's running around screaming all day. Well, it shouldn't be about politics. This should be, no, here it is all about politics. That's all this thing is. It's about politics. Case in point, even last night, right? Last night, Nadler's like, I'm so tired.
The vote this committee just took was not a vote on final passage of the article. It was a procedural vote which precedes final passage of each of the articles. It has been a long 2 days of consideration of these articles, and it is now very late at night. I want the members on both sides of the aisle to think about what has happened over these last 2 days and to search their consciences before we cast our final votes. Therefore, the committee will now stand in recess until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., at which point... Whoa!
Yeah, people are not thrilled, right? Why? Because it's politics. You want to make sure you have the most amounts of eyeballs on it. Doing it overnight is not something that gets people excited. You want to make sure you hit it flush and early, and everybody was like, oh, come on, really?
This committee is more concerned about getting it on TV in the morning than it was finishing its job tonight and letting the members go home.
Yeah, and that's what it was. I mean, but that's the politics of it all. Therein lies what this is all about. It's about the politics. Because you don't really have a bipartisan thing happening here. What you have is one group taking on another group. And in this arena right here, the House, that group's ruled by the Democrats. In the Senate, it's ruled by the Republicans, and you're not going to get anybody to sway from where they are unless it's politically expedient for them personally, as we talked about yesterday. It's about who? It's about them as individuals, not about the party or the people. but about them. And so if it makes sense to jump from one side to another, they will do it. But because everything in this tribal world that we live in, there's very little purple, it's red or blue. And if your base is one of those and you happen to be the other side of that base, right, as far as your color, right? So you're in a position where you've got, a lot, you're red, but you got a ton of blue, but they like you, but they're looking at you. Maybe you think about it, right? On the other side, if you're blue and you're in an area that Trump won and possibly could win again, and it's a lot more red with maybe a hint of purple, you're probably saying to yourself, like Jeff Andrew and a few of these others out there, I've got to do what's politically expedient for myself in my life, so I might say nah on this. Even though my party's going for it, me personally, I got to do this for me. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. With all of that being said, Trump has a pal on the other side of the pond who now will be able to move the Brits away from Europe after yesterday's massive vote in which everybody thought, well, this is going to be a nail biter. This is absolutely a nail biter. The polls were showing, people were talking about how close this is, how Boris Johnson was really getting everything handed to him, and the vote took place yesterday.
Britain has woken up to a landslide victory by Conservative Party leader and Trump favourite Boris Johnson. It's the biggest win for a Conservative Prime Minister since Margaret Thatcher more than 30 years ago. Now, his campaign was characterised by disinformation, I think it's fair to say, but Johnson's Get Brexit Done slogan cut through in a huge way. It demolished the opposition in areas that had voted to leave the European Union 3 years ago.
Yeah, so he'll be able to do that. And he's got a majority now. So this is going to get done. He had promised people that. And Labor, which was the Liberals, they just did a very poor job in what they were trying to do. And it's over. It's done now. And again, this is the third election they've had in like 16 months. Is that insane? We can barely handle one every 4 years of massive proportions, right? I mean, again, we have the midterms, but that's not like what we have coming up next year. We can barely handle one, and partly because it feels like in our world, people never stop campaigning. Over there, it's a much different thing. They call for general election. You can call for it. Like, we're going to call for setting a date for general elections. It's going to be, March 3rd. Oh, okay. That's when we're going to do it. As here, where we know where it's coming, we know what it is, and so you can plan, but it's very much everybody's always running here. It just seems like everybody's always running. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love talking to each and every one. You can text the program as well. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. He was interesting, has a hell of an actor, but he is left us, Mr. Danny Aiello.
Acclaimed character actor Danny Aiello has died. Best known for roles in Godfather 2.
Michael Corleone says hello.
Moonstruck opposite Cher, and he got an Oscar nomination for playing Sal the pizza place owner in Do the Right Thing.
You're going to pay now, you're going to pay on layaway.
Danny Aiello was 86.
Yeah, and he was also in that Madonna video, Papa Don't Preach. Remember that? Yeah. Lived that's a good life, man. 86. Good life right there. Good life. I was thinking today, man, I've seen him in a ton of stuff. He's played, he was a great character actor. He was an interesting character himself. And it's like one of those things where there's a regular guy who kind of really made it. Got himself an Oscar nomination. That's a win right there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. MyPillow. Amazing. Love MyPillow. Got mine. Woke up extra early today because I got in here early, and lo and behold, after my shower, I'm like, oh, there's my MyPillow showers. Oh, yeah, there's them towels I like. Incredible. 5 designer color choices, right? So you get 5 different ones, and there is no, this is what I love about. First of all, they're big. You get 30 by 56 bath towels, and you've got, and they're extra just soft, and they're so absorbent. You got hand towels, 16 by 30, and you got the washcloths too. And the luxury feel, there's no fillers or, cheap softeners and that stuff. And it's just, it's so absorbent. You only need one towel. So often you need like 2 towels because you don't get a good towel. You feel the difference. They suck. Not these. These are amazing. And right now you can save 30%. 30% on these. You get a 60-day money-back guarantee. All you have to do is mypillow.com. Click on the new radio listener special. You're going to save 30% off these towels. Again, 5 different colors, 60-day money-back guarantee, 100% USA cotton. Get yours now. Enter promo code Benson when you go to the new radio listener special. MyPillow.com, MyPillow.com, new radio listener specials. Enter promo code Benson, save 30%. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
A man named James Bond is proving to be the Salvation Army's Goldfinger for secret donations. Last Saturday in Noblesville, Indiana, Mr. Bond got an unexpected treasure in his kettle outside of Walgreens. Someone gave a 1915 Australian gold coin valued at around $1,500. The Salvation Army has a history of gold donations that includes coins, wedding rings, and even the occasional gold tooth.
Yeah. We're just talking about James Bond because, they're trying to figure out who's the next one. Daniel Craig has confirmed this is it. People are like, it's going to be a woman. It's going to be. I'm like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't. No, you can't do that. Right? Like, there's some things that they're just like, no. Sorry. No. No. Well, it's an idea, James Bond's. No, it's at some point you're going to ruin something because you think this is the great thing to do, right? Because it's politically woke. We'll make it a woman. But no, you're not. That's not. James Bond is James Bond. Well, I just think it could easily be a woman. I'm just like, no. Right? They're talking about Tom Hardy, right? Idris Elba, both of them perfect choices. Got no problem with either of them. But a woman? That's just silly. Right? Like, to me, that is just, you're like, at that point, what are you doing? Hey, you guys want to go see James Bond? It's a woman now. Well, a woman can't do it. No, who? So James Bond is going to be James Bond, but a woman? Yeah. Doesn't make sense. Sorry. Like, that's stupid. At what point do you stop saying, all right, I'm over it. Like, that's a shark that is way too far for me to even think we could jump.
Ruth Balloon, yes, that's her real name, decided to check her bank balance this week and was shocked to find that she had $37,203,337.66 in her checking account. She was hoping against hope that it was an incredibly generous gift from someone and not a clerical error. Well, it was a clerical error. Ruth is hoping for a little thank you reward from the bank for her honesty in reporting the mistake. So far, she hasn't heard back.
Why should you get a reward for an accident? You didn't find $36 million on the street. Like, you turning it in at that point, because you can see why, right? This was a clerical error, and you're like, well, I would like to get some money. For what? For reporting it? Because if you'd went out and spent it, you would have been stealing. It's amazing. Like, people, oh, man, that'd be great. It'd be great. Because you hear about that every once in a while. And people think, oh. Like, if you wake up today and you have $1 million in your bank account that you didn't have, and you think to yourself, I'm going to go spend it all right now. They'll never find out. Oh, they'll find out. And then you'll have to pay it back. Then you're going to be charged with a crime. Then you're going to end up in jail. And then you won't be able to pay it all back. So when you get out, you'll have tons of fines. So that's why you just go, hey, is this a mistake? And maybe they say, no, you had a great, great, great aunt, apparently, that died, and she had several $1 million and, several family members. Maybe that's it. Or, an known benefactor that wants no part of anything gave you that money. Then they, oh yeah, that's exciting. And if you go spend the money and the bank says, oh, sorry, well, you got that at least. But the thought process that somebody accidentally put something in there, the bank, and you tell them that, and oh, can I have a reward, is so stupid. People are silly. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Free to tweet at me. Speaking of silly, what do people spend money on? We're going to touch on that. I'll tell you why they do it as well. It's funny, but it's real. Plus, oh man, hackers hacking everything. Wait till you hear this story. A little bit more about impeachment as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Democrats have been wanting to do this for 3 years. The first headline in the Washington Post before the president was inaugurated was they were going to impeach him. Well, they finally got around to it. Everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with White House counsel. There will be no difference between the president's position and our position as to how to handle this. But we'll be working through this process, hopefully in a fairly short period of time, in total coordination with the White House counsel's office and the people who are representing the president in the well of the Senate.
Yeah, they're right there. Mitch McConnell. He should do voiceovers. Marriage. So, yeah, they voted today to move the articles out of committee to a full debate on the House floor, which I believe will take place probably Wednesday, if it's not too late for Nadler. I'm really tired. It's not too late for him. They'll have a full House vote, and then it'll go to early next year. They'll take everything up in the Senate, and we'll see what takes place. And by the way, next week we have a debate on Thursday night, and they still have to get the budget done, or there could be a potential shutdown. All of this needs to take place next week before they all go on recess. Recess. It's winter break. Recess. So that's got to happen. Will it happen? Don't know. Because at this day and age, with the way that people act and the craziness and how the games are being played, it may take them a little bit longer to get to something. So don't be surprised if something goes wrong, or next thing you know, they keep them over until at least the 23rd or 24th, just because they like to screw with each other, because that there is politics.
For these people to say me, they would say me. You said, do me a favor. No, it didn't say that. It said, do us a favor, our country.
Ooh, perfect phone call. Do us a favor. Do us a favor. Do us a favor. How about you guys do us all a favor? And let's just get this done as fast as possible. You know, I was telling somebody yesterday, they're like, well, America should be paying attention to us. I don't think America cares. I said, do you want to know how much they care and don't care? If this had to be on pay-per-view, what do you think that looked like? Would you pay to watch this? Now, some political people would, but if it was the average person going about their day, would you pay to watch this? How much? I don't know. What would it be worth? Would you pay to watch it? I'm thinking, yeah. Most people would say, nah. No, I wouldn't. And they'd say, well, you know, we don't It doesn't matter what we say or any of this thing, but I think that most people, if you ask them, hey, you've got to pay to watch this thing, they're like, oh, I'll just read about it in the news later on. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Craziness. You got to watch out. People hack into every single thing, from cameras to phones to your you name it. They can hack into it.
Who is that? I'm your best friend.
As 8-year-old Alyssa LeMay stood in her room, a terrifying voice spoke to her.
I'm Santa Claus. Don't you want to be my best friend?
The horrifying sound coming from this Ring security camera installed in the child's bedroom, which she shares with her 2 sisters.
I come upstairs and I hear some banging noise. I was like, who is that? I don't know who you are.
I'm Santa Claus.
I let you guys know that's not Santa Claus. Because first of all, Santa Claus wouldn't sound that stupid. I'm Santa Claus. Like, really? Because if you're Santa, you could skip my house. What if the kid's like, I'm Jewish. No, I'll pass. Thank you. But I'm Santa Claus. But it's creepy, right? It's creepy. The TVs, we're all up to the point now. Like, have you ever been like where you're walking and, you know, maybe you're getting dressed and you've got maybe you got a laptop open, you got a camera, and you're just like, I'm just going to shut this because just in case. And here I've got like a Mevo camera and I've got another camera because I'll do live streaming and some stuff like that. And it does feel weird when you're sitting in here sometimes and you'll be like, you're talking to yourself, trying to get stuff ready. When we're going to go with this. And, or you're talking to somebody on the phone and you're thinking, is anybody listening? Yeah. Is it? Hey, the way it is, man, if it's out there and it doesn't matter what it is, it'll be hacked.
For 5 minutes, the voice taunting the young girl, playing strange music, even instructing her to destroy her room.
Can mess up your room, can break your TV, can do whatever you want.
The LeMay family installed the camera just days before the device was apparently hacked.
I watched the video, and I mean, like, they could watch them sleeping, they could have watched them changing. I mean, they could have seen all kinds of things.
Yeah, and that's creepy, right? I mean, long gone is the, what was it, Erin Andrews? Do you remember when they got her through the peephole and that guy ended up going to jail? That stuff. Now, the thing in your hand could be spying on you, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it, right? Except for to go so off the grid that you try to appear like you go, right? Jason Bourne, where like you're not going to be seen.
This just the latest hack of an in-home security camera. Over the weekend, a Florida family says they were spied on in their living room.
Can you bring like a web browser up on your phone and then type in the website that I tell you?
No. And earlier this year in Washington State, the owner of this Nest camera recorded a hacker harassing her family. Shut the up.
That's creepy. Creepy. Very creepy. Just nuts. It is. It's crazy. And remember, we big brothered ourselves in a lot of ways, from cameras on the streets to in a want for safety, which is a good thing. I understand the want for safety, but it's not even just take away the cameras you can put on, in home and stuff. It's like we have cameras everywhere. Why? Because we also want to be seen, but we want to pick and choose when we get seen. We want to know what's going on. We opted in to life in front of a camera in a very weird way. And so we surround ourselves with cameras, and because of that, we're vulnerable.
But Ring says in the Memphis case, their security was not breached, adding hackers often reuse credentials stolen or leaked from one service on other services. To protect your privacy, security experts say you should use a strong and unique password. The longer, the more secure. Change them often and set up two-factor authentication to ensure a hacker has to work twice as hard to break in, something the LeMay family admits did not do.
I don't know who you are. I'm Santa Claus.
I'm Santa Claus. Sad. It's gross. Just like that to me is again. You're looking into a child's room. Yeah, just heebie-jeebies. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from every single one of you. You can text the program as well as tweet at us. Check us out on the Instagram. The Gram, kids. The Gram. So, are we going to do it? Are we going to get rid of meat?
Plant-based meat, or fake meat as some might call it, is wildly popular, especially on Wall Street.
Fake meat is turning into real profit.
The stock market debut for Beyond Meat went beyond.
The hottest IPO of 2019 so far.
This stock has a cult-like following. It's going to sweep over the world.
Our mission is very simple. It's to completely replace animals as a food technology by 2035. It's basically a prehistoric technology.
Yeah, peak meat. So it's to get rid of everything that we possibly can meat-wise because of how much damage these critters do. And they want to do it by 2030. That would be 11-ish years from now, give or take. You know how we go. Maybe get there a little bit early, maybe get there a little bit late. But we have to do it. Scientists said this is the largest emission source or land occupiers, and that is what? Livestock. So if we reduce this, we can get rid of this, we can reduce about 1.5 degrees centigrade, right? And that's what we need to do this. We have to get rid of meat. I like meat. I've tried. Look, let me tell you something. I've tried the Beyond Meat and all the other stuff, and it tastes pretty damn good. And I did it. I think it would have tasted better, but mine got a little cold because they were giving them out, and by the time I got to the point where I ate it, it was a little bit later. But I took everything off the bun except for the meat itself because you can disguise a lot of stuff in there, and I wanted to taste it, and it tastes pretty good. So is this really are we going to really get it? No, we're not going to do that. And my question is, what do we do with all these animals? Do we just kill them all? I mean, is that what we do? I mean, if they're the biggest source of it, and look, you know what, Phil and Anthony and I are trying our hardest to keep up with and consume as many as possible. But what do we do with the animals is I think it's a very real thing. Like, we don't want to kill them. Well, but they're the source of it. They're the source because of their flatulence and how much, space they occupy and all of these things. Do we just get rid of them all? Is it one fell culling and where we just kill them all, or how's that work? But we're never getting rid of all meat because we like meat. We do. For health reasons, should we look at alternatives to meat? Absolutely. But I do like me a good steak, and they ain't done that yet. Right? Have they done that yet, Phil? I don't think they've done that yet.
They have not done that yet.
You can hide yourself in a burger, a certain thing, but, they ain't done that yet. Just throwing it out there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Raycons, holiday season. You're saying to yourself, I need to get some other presents for people. You're looking around. You say, well, what do you got over there? We've got the best earbuds around, period, case closed. Premium wireless earbuds that cost half as much, if not a third of the price of all these other ones that got the stems and the wires, and they got the name, but the sound quality is But you're buying the name. Don't do it. Buy the quality. That's where Raycons come in. The E25 is the best one yet. 6 hours of playtime. Seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, compact designs, so incredible. You put them in there, you barely feel them, and the noise isolating fit, well, you're going to love it. So when you're making phone calls, listening to whatever you're listening to, you're going to love it. Absolutely incredible. When Ray J put these things together, he took them to the people that matter in the music industry and said, you guys are musicians. You're Melissa Etheridge, Cardi B, Brandy, Snoop Dogg. Take a listen to these. What do you think of these? Give me the real honest feedback. They did. That's why you have these E25s. They're incredible. Now's the time to get them. Save big right now on top of the big savings. Save another 15%. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, the only place so far that the Mueller investigation hasn't deep probed for collusion.
Redacted!
Stay tuned.
This is Chad Benson.
Buddy Rick just tweeted at us, and we were talking about it off the air. You know, with all the fake meat and everything that's out there, you look at these things and you're like, okay, what's in these things, first of all? And he's like, and we were talking about it, and producer Anthony's like, look at the sodium level and look at a lot of this stuff that's in these things. It's nuts. Yeah, so like, are we going to look back in 5 years and go, okay, good, we got rid of all the meat. Oh, by the way, the stuff that we were putting on our bodies was so bad for us. Oh, yeah, that's a possibility because we're not going to be around to see the planet because these things killed us. Oh, I'll just stick with my little bit of plant, little bit of meat, and go from there.
The top spot at the box office this weekend, and no, it isn't Frozen 2.
Where's the jungle? This is a whole new thing. Nobody told us we had to do a whole new thing.
Jumanji, the next level, will dethrone the Ice Queens, looking at an opening somewhere in the $40 to $50 million range, which would be better than the first film in 2017. Also opening, the horror remake Black Christmas and Clint Eastwood's Richard Jewell.
You always look at the guy who found the bomb, just like you always look at the guy who found the body.
Which is generating award season buzz as well as controversy.
Yeah, I'm going to be going to see Jumanji tomorrow morning. Jack and I are going to see it. It should be fun. It looks fun. The first one was really good. The relaunch, remake, whatever it was. I wasn't a fan of the first movie, and this one looks again interesting and fun, and that's what you want. That's what I want. So tell everybody that's what I want in my movies. I'm going to go sit down. We're going to eat breakfast there. We're going to pig out, have crap we're not supposed to have that early in the morning, but we're celebrating my birthday and everything. So Jack and I are going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to go see Jumanji. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I like The Rock, and I think Kevin Hart just makes me laugh. Was I reading this week that Jack Black, who's turning 50 or turned 50, said he's going to be done with movies? Like, I see why certain people... Right? Like Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, people's like, why did he retire? If you know anything about the guy, if he does a part, he'll study it for 6 months or a year. He becomes the character. He does it for that year or so that he does plus the movie. He lives it the entire time. My buddy worked on Abraham Lincoln. The Lincoln movie. You were only allowed to dress him as Mr. Lincoln or President Lincoln. I mean, he lives it. And so you get into that, and I could see how that could be exhausting. Right? And then maybe after a while you have trouble getting out of it. But Jack Black, really? You going to retire? Just going to do music full time? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Yes, if you haven't heard, Trump, the real first step in impeachment after the articles, was voting it out of the House committees, and that happened today.
Today is a solemn and sad day. For the third time in a little over a century and a half, the House Judiciary Committee has voted articles of impeachment against the President for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress.
Mm-hmm. So now it's on to the full Senate, which will take place next. I'm assuming it is going to be next Wednesday, and they will vote on it then, which at that point in time, once it passes, it will then go to the Senate where the removal trial will begin, because that's, the impeachment will happen. The removal trial takes place in the Senate. So Nadler delayed it last night. He sashayed, and then they voted. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Read a tweet at me. Love hearing from you. Tom Joyner, one of the great radio people's retiring today at 70. Guy's the hardest working man in radio that's not me. But that guy's life, the things that he did for black colleges and everything else. But tell you what, for years, he commuted every single day from Dallas to Chicago, did morning show and afternoon shows. 7 million frequent flyer miles. Crazy. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show.